welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to play a completely random game. The general sort of perception, let's choose something with 7. The general perception that it's sort of the last day of 2020 and I haven't done anything for a while. So I just want to sort of get something out there. Mainly because I'm just too busy and this looks good. I've probably played this before. No video in the what's it thing, but there's a timeline, which means that I would have done it before. On the concepts of timelines, just so that you've maybe got an idea how they work. That's sort of how it works. So we can see that last time we sort of obviously attacked just in here. They're probably moving units around somewhere, adjusting things. I seem to recall a bit of this, but I'm not sure what the strategy is or should be. And obviously we're moving in, pushing along this road. This was a particular feature. I think it's a hill actually. So I think clearly what the strategy in this situation appears to be is a drive straight along this road. I do seem to recall we sort of tried to outflank. So let's see whether that outflank maneuver happens. No, we appear to be just driving straight through. Possibly because we have superior numbers. It's quite neat actually, this sort of timeline thing. Instead of me just sort of maybe wittering on, you can just sort of watch it. It's actually quite entertaining, and that's one of the reasons I like doing these videos, because they are sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't just say wholly entertaining. They are entertaining, but I think they're sort of quite relaxing, because if you understand strategy, you can sort of see strategy evolving and being played out, and it's actually, a substantial thing in its own right, I think. But I think we've definitely got this concept of a line forming up there. Look, you can see the patterns. It's obviously the blue people against the black people, and there's sort of, oh look, we've tried to push in over here. We're trying to put pressure on this line in 2 locations. There is actually a YouTube person that does these real-time strategies, and they do it in a strange way, but they have these 2 people playing, and this guy does a commentary. It's almost like a sports commentary. It says, oh, and the Uganda, the Tanzanians are coming out from the east with their tanks, and it's now the Ugandans moving their motorized infantry units to the whatever, blah, 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 etc. And he makes it a little bit more interesting. I'm not in any sense trying to replicate that. I'm just pointing it out. But there is that sort of tendency to sort of, in your mind's eye, sort of thinking, well, this is what's happening. But this is quite interesting, really, because there is a rush to this bridge. And I think, you can definitely see this sort of push in this direction. In fact, I'm actually a little more excited just watching this timeline than the consideration of playing it, because I know that the intrepidation is, if I play this now, which I'm going to play a few turns, I don't really want to do much because I'm busy. This is why I'm just jumping in and actually just forcing myself to make a video. But the trepidation of actually having to play this far through to decide how I can deal with the bridge, the crossing of the bridge, is quite daunting, really, because I don't want to spend that much time. If I could do it in 10 minutes, it would be okay. But look, we got there. We got to the bridge. Do we cross the bridge? I don't recall we crossed the bridge. How long is this timeline going to go on? All we need is the artillery. but they've got artillery as well. Oh, where's he going? He's going up for this bridge. Look at that. That is really, really interesting strategy. I think, this is one of the things about war to some extent is that, well, there's another substance, another substrate, or another media subject, etc., in which they discuss something and talk about something, and they reflect and consider it to be like a wine, a spirit. You make it, and it's not very good, and then like 20 years later, it's good. It improves with time. And this was a game I played a long time ago. Well, maybe not a long time ago, because it was only on position 7. But you can see the strategic issues and objectives. Oh, is that it? I don't think there's any more movement happening. So we didn't get across the river. But this is what I'm getting quite excited about now, because we can now reflect and consider that as a simulation and say, well, what actually happened? So we drove up this road here. We've got a bit of an impasse here. We know we've got to cross this river. Possibly it's going to happen, but it didn't happen in this game. But clearly there was this clear sort of visual indication that some forces were split away to deal with this, whatever this is here, Wall's Dam, with some other forces. And clearly they also haven't got across the river. And we've got artillery here, so we can sort of say, well, we can't flick into it, or can we? No. But clearly they've got 2 lots of artillery, so these are going to be under artillery fire. To be quite honest, when I started this video, I was not in the frame of mind that I was going to get excited in any way. And to some extent, it is always a sort of in the back of my mind that a subliminal or secondary thing about doing these videos is I sort of change my, not so much mental state, but my emotional state, or I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't otherwise have ordinarily got as excited and intrigued as I just got there in that 7 minutes watching that video. I don't think everyone on the planet is going to tune in and get a similar amount of excitement from that. But it's a bit like watching the snooker. If you know what's going on, you can get excited about something. I tend not to get excited about snooker. Really, it's not something that I find exciting, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people do, and they understand it. And I think this is similar. You can sort of say, well, to most people it would be quite sort of boring. But I'm going to play this now. I'm not going to play it all the way through. But that was certainly, I suddenly now become sort of excited, and I wouldn't have otherwise been excited 10 minutes ago, because I was actually just wandering around thinking, shall I have a cup of tea, and I've got to do a video, because I've been thinking about doing a video for a few days, and I thought, sorry, I'll just jump into bed, because I'm in bed at the moment. I'll get this video done, out of the way, and so I can go and do other things, and but it's actually sort of a different thing, really. It's sort of picked me up quite a bit. Not that I was down or anything, but it's sort of, I don't know, I wasn't expecting this. That's all I can say. So anyway, we're going to play. We're going to play this fantastic and exciting game. Wow, never going to get to there. So do we really want to try and take this bridge and this bridge before they can get these troops there? Is it possible? So essentially, what we really want to do, possibly, is to, without him spotting, we want to get to this bridge. We want to race to this bridge, because there's no other crossing points. But there's 2 roads across there. So what we want to do really is to isolate as much as we can from getting back to whatever this place is. Ginger. Is there something we can do? I'm not sure, really. So instead of directly confronting these, because if you look at that, infantry, it's got some motorized there. So he's always going to... So the thing is, we can probably beat all this infantry anyway, and we're not going to outrun these motorized units. So I'm not sure how this is going to work really, because what I'd like to do is drive straight onto the Owen Falls Dam. So I'm going to send a task force directly and immediately in that direction. But I want to defend this artillery and I want to use it in the first turn. So I'm going to leave the armour with him. So essentially, I can send this motorised unit around and this mechanised unit. And hopefully with these two units we can can't move any further. Right. Okay, well, to stop him thinking anything clever, put some pressure on him. 0.4. So he'll probably just sit there. Right, so it's now the Ugandan turn. So, now the Ugandans have had the equivalent sense of providence in the same way that we might be granting the Tanzanian player. So in light of the importance and the significance of these river areas, what would they do? How are they going to sort of best thwart any plans to cross this river and make these two river points completely defendable? I don't know. But the first thing I'm thinking is that they've got artillery. Now this artillery has a range of 7. This artillery has a range of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So basically I think what we really need to do is fall back to a position around Najuru. But we also want to make sure that we've got this stacked up. So let's move no. We want to get 4 units in there. Or we can bring him down. We want to get them within 7 of this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's actually just pull back. Let's pull this line back. Because he's got a balance there, I'm going to do it this way. Because I can't go back any quicker. But everything else is going to try now. The thing that's intriguing me about this to some extent is my perception on what I call unfair gaming or spoilt gaming, or basically where the other player does something. To put it into perspective, I always have a certain analogy. I once played a game. It was actually a Call of Cthulhu game, and I was introducing it to some people that don't do role playing because it's a role playing game. And I can't remember. It was something I'd made up, and I don't think what I'm going to say is unusual, but I said, okay, well, there's this sort of, you're somewhere, it was the beginning of the whatever, and there's some sort of inclination that there is a huge ugly monster at the top of this hill. And on top of this hill was a sort of like a ruined chapel, and there were some strange reports, and what do you do? The other guy that was quite dominant, he said, well, we'll run away. He said, what? Yeah, we'll run away. Well, it's dark, it's sort of not so far from anywhere. Okay, we'll get a taxi and we'll drive as far away from here as possible. And okay, well, that's it. Well, we might as well go home. Game over. Sort of sport the game. But at the same time, it's a realistic option. That's maybe what you'd do if you were facing Cthulhu in a strange remote location and you didn't want to die. And so what we've got here is sort of the Ugandans sort of like running away, and the Tanzanian player may be thinking, well, that's not fair, you're running away. How can we have a war game if you run away? Well, because it's safe. That's the obvious option to do. I think I've moved everything. So I'm talking, sort of forgetting what I'm doing. So they can possibly mince into there, but I'd like to say, do you see what I'm saying? I mean, hopefully that should make some sense in some sort of context, that this could possibly be construed as sort of like, not playing the game as it's intended. But the thing is, these games are not designed to be played as intended. They're designed to be played as, a multitude of things, including simulation and modelling of certain conceptual strategies. And if they mean that you don't lose, then you win. But if it doesn't mean there's anything exciting happening, so what we're doing is we've got a gameplay that, to be quite honest, is fairly transparent and simple to comprehend. We have to go through the motions of doing it, but the principle is that we're going to just move everything behind this river line and see how that works. The fact we've got to sort of do that as a strategy is just tedious, but still, relevant. So anyway, he is slightly hit. We've got more units in here. I think what I'm going to try and do, I don't think we're going to get to this point here any faster than these units, but let's just see. Because if I can, I'm only going to be able to get 2. So we might as well fight it out. But we should be able to put some artillery in there. Okay, and let's see whether we can start to punish these units. 2 to 1. Well, that puts them up to 2.7. Okay, so we've got 2 lots of armor in there, so let's just at least use that. Okay, so we're sending everything along in a stonking column. They might be able to get 2 attacks out of all this, but let's go for this one first. Yes. Now, the benefit here is that what the Ugandan player has done is moved out of his entrenchments, making that first impulse so much easier. So maybe it was a mistake moving out. And we've got an exchange there, but I think we can at least move there and attack again into that and hopefully destroy that unit. So it's now the Ugandan player's turn. So maybe what they want to start considering is moving back as quickly as possible. Shall I follow the road along? Because if we lose the road, they'll just be able to shoot up it. Oh, look at that. So I'm stacking the artillery up with other units so that they're not exposed to artillery fire as readily as they might have otherwise been. Come on. So he's already... Okay, interesting. What can the Tanzanians do to prevent this sort of sudden rush? Because the thing is, they can't really do anything because they don't have the road. I mean, they can possibly take these units out, but we might be able to get up to here. He's on to Potions 3. But we're going to get a zone of control there. One, two, three, four, five. I don't think we're going to get any artillery on any of this. Shall we do that? Depressions 3, might as well. Okay. Let's see if we can push them out of the way. Unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of control over where they go. We could have had a bit more control, but they've gone where I wanted them to go. Off of this road, opening up this, because they could have gone there or there, but they went there, which is perfect. Because I want to exploit along this road. My mouse isn't very good, but I think this tank will be able to do what this motorized unit can't do. I guess it's not too unreasonable to imagine that armoured units might be faster than motorised and mechanised under certain circumstances, but the movement system isn't really integrated in a way that makes a lot of sense. I should maybe done this one at a time, but we should get good old results both together. Yeah. And an elimination is fine. My mouse is actually one of these little, it's a Genius mouse actually, and it's a little tiny portable mouse that I bought for when I was sort of on airplanes and things like that. Something small, so there's used on their little fold out tables. But unfortunately it's not very good ergonomically. But it's okay for the bedside. So anyway, that's that. I think the Ugandans have the advantage in that they can, to a large extent, complete their withdrawal unhindered. Did I attack that unit? I don't think I did. No, I used him to attack them, didn't I? And then they retreated there, freeing up the road. That's right. Because they've lost this road now, and it could be that they're going to get cut off, and they will be able to get there sooner. But I think they're failing the integrity of these units. They've got everything they need over here, and these units are going to get to where they want to go. I don't think anything's going to stop them. So we've got units here. We'll get there next turn. So we really want to put one more unit under here, for example, and the rest of this can move into there. So to a large extent, got a zone of control over there. They've reached their objectives. We'll have this location sorted out. So these ground units have sort of done their purpose in holding things up. Maybe the question is, could we have got there any quicker? And I don't think we could. But this road is certainly faster. So 5.8, we should be able to take him out. 2.7. There is no need for speed. I'm going to recover these units, just for principle really. Let's see what I can do here. I'm going to go up against him on his own. Could be a 5-6 to 1. Eliminated. Okay. So it leaves the road open, but there's not a lot of point or purpose or need for it, for the rush, but I'm going to just do it anyway. I suppose what it does do, it reduces the enemy's ability to readjust these positions. So if they have made a mistake, they're running out of time to resolve it. So he's going to recover. Okay. We could press these to harass this unit, because otherwise he might escape. I think we can get him regardless with the mobile units here, so right. Well, we definitely need to be getting across the river. Stacking up with that. It's taking me 2 clicks to do anything, which is frustrating. But that's it. I mean, they're all in place. They're in place. We've lost 2 units, and we've got this guy who might be able to get up to there. Okay, so it's now the Tanzanian turn. What do they want to do? Oh, I've missed something here. Not a big problem, but these units would have been in artillery fire. Right. Which is another point. What I'm going to do is this. Now I'm doing this deliberately for two reasons. Firstly, it's that sort of spoiling things type strategy and approach. And secondly, because I want to finish it. I'm not going to go any further than this. But essentially, I'm out of their artillery range. We formed up. We recognised that they're going to be in a position that we're going to have to assault. And the consideration really is to determine how we want to do that. And I think that if you were considering this as a simulation, that would be the proper thing to do at this stage. Because the thing is, we've only got one artillery unit, so it might be better to bring it on to bear with that. However, the problem is because what we'd be doing, we'd be radioing in for airstrikes and artillery. We wouldn't be advancing. We would be saying that we need some indirect areas fire support of some sort. So, for example, when the Ugandans go, what they're actually going to do is this. Because the tanks can actually fire across the river. They can't do that now. He's going to get across the river. So that's all set up. So essentially, we've got more units here, but none of that is artillery. We need to get over here. So the odds are we got this bridge here with one route across, but with one lot of artillery. And we've got this one with two routes across, but with two lots of artillery. Now we're going to be under artillery fire if we do this. Here we can get four, and we could possibly put our artillery in there, where it will be attacked by three lots of artillery. And that's it. That's the only option that we got. We can continually try to fight that. They'll reinforce it. So this riverhead is almost unassailable. Here, if we were to do it here, we'd have one hex to attack from. But we could position ourselves where we've only got one lot of artillery against us. We'll have our artillery against it. It could move back. He's got a range of 7. We've got a range of 5. So it's interesting, but I'm not going to play it anymore because obviously to play the variants would take forever. And I've only got 20 minutes left, and I've quite done what I intended to do. It's interesting actually because I've been really busy sort of doing fairly major projects and things, and I've been a bit distracted from this. Just fortunate that there's not a huge load of wars kicking off or anything that I'd have to follow. I can't even keep up with what I've got. But I've been looking at, say, another video type YouTube channel for something completely unrelated, in which I'm only toying with it at the moment, but I've made 2 videos and they're each 3 minutes long, and they take quite a bit of time to make a 3-minute video. And what it dawned on me was that it's really easy. I've always known it's easy, but it really it became very clear to me that, for example, I just made a 40-minute video here, and all I'm doing is lying in bed talking rubbish, but it's significant, substantial, it's enjoyable. There's certain conclusions, and I know not a lot of people really watch my videos or anything, but I don't think it's as cheap as maybe I was thinking. Talk is cheap. Talking heads are the cheapest. So you get all these people that just sit there and talk about something, usually politics, because it's the lowest common denominator. You know, and people extend. I think people want to express themselves and broadcast themselves almost for the sake of it. I think YouTube is like a drug that a lot of people become addicted to in its snake oil sort of offerings, the potential to become famous and to influence and reach out to and have people looking and watching you, which is to some extent, I can sense that. And when I only get 4 or 5 views on YouTube for a video, I sort of think, well, I understand that, not in the sense that I think my content is rubbish, but I do feel that I'm not getting any sort of what do you call it, sort of any favoritism of any sort in the sort of the algorithms, in that my videos are not popping up everywhere for no known reason whatsoever. And I think that's a large extent. You can have a content that's comparable to another person's and they'll do well and you won't. That's a secondary sort of issue, but I think the point is a lot of people are looking for that. They're looking to make a video and to get an audience and to get likes and subs and comments, and I really don't get a lot of that, but I think I'm quite happy with the way my channel goes. But at the same time, this video has gone for 42 minutes, so I'm not, it's a bit more than the talking head, although I'm just talking now. But I did these videos, and there were 2 of them, and they're 3 minutes long, and they didn't actually take that long. But when you're actually trying to do production video, it's a different kettle of fish. So much so that we're obviously, I'm just expressing myself here, really, sort of talking on a few points I've been reflecting on. For example, Star Wars the movie is about an hour and a half long. It's an hour and a half long video, but I think we all know that it took quite a bit of money to make that, especially in 1979, which I think it was made. And it's still passed the test of time today. But to do something can take quite a long time. To do a 3-minute video can take a long time. People are doing all sorts of creative things, and I sort of think, well, it's a big venture really to sort of, people are doing maybe animations or clever things that take days and days to make, and they're only like 5 or 10 minutes long. A feature film, quite a lot of them are films, and they're like 10 minutes long. You think, how rubbish, what's the point? But it probably took them 10 weeks to make. And I just sort of, I'm thinking about that and the balance of, how things, how much value these things have. Because one of the things I've always done with YouTube, and I've spread onto Vimeo because I have more faith and trust in Vimeo. I think YouTube is not a nice place at all, really. It's rigged, basically. And I was watching today, actually, someone was saying that, the current tech companies, YouTube, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, etc., combined are the most powerful entities that we've ever had on this planet. And when you sort of consider it, in that light, I think it's quite clear it's all rigged, and serves an ulterior purpose. They're not giving away free hosting on YouTube for nothing. The social indoctrination is quite clear, with the number of people that are not really allowed, and the sort of things you're not allowed to say, even though we live in a potential or the supposed world of free speech. When you're not allowed to say things, it's not free speech, but that's all quite irrelevant, really. I think it's very clear. I think the difficulty is extracting yourself from the opium of YouTube et al., which I like to think that I'm free of. But at the same time, I sort of think, well, once you've tried YouTube, it's quite difficult to just extract yourself and say, oh, I'm not addicted or anything. But I'm not. I would say I'm addicted, but I think there's a definite trend of people on YouTube, when you start looking at the content, and then you start considering the fact that I don't know if that chance is not going. There's a saying, I think chance would be a fine thing, indicating that there's no such thing as a sort of chance. People are sort of saying, oh, I'll put together a video and then fingers crossed people will like it. Well, fingers crossed, no, because I think it's quite clear that YouTube is determining who wins and who loses. And so you've got to balance that out and say, okay, well, in the constraints of that, for example, this video probably only get maximum of 10 views, within the space of a week or so, which sort of makes you think, well, what's the point? Well, the point is, as a sort of internet just earlier, I find some general pleasure in looking at them, and they complement my whole gaming platform in general. But I think in the light of sort of these other little ventures that I've done where it takes quite a bit of time and effort to make just a 3-minute video, I think it's quite a good return on investment, really, when it's so easy to make a gaming video. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of gaming people do that, because it's easy to just play a game and talk over it and then job done, and the sort of thing is, well, it's not an accusation, but have you tried making a 3-minute video? It's actually not as simple. And you think, because I think it's a mindset. You're sort of thinking, well, why should someone get loads of traffic when they're not putting in the same amount of effort that I am? Well, I mean, I'm not going to even consider answering these questions. I'm just sort of thinking aloud, really, in a number of ways, in relation to the fact that I'd sort of just jumped in. And I was sort of thinking, well, my point of view when I make these videos is that it's downtime, it's relaxing time, to some extent. So I feel sort of okay about this. But when I'm sort of considering these other videos, I'm thinking, well, there's no way I'm going to spend neither of these videos took more than 2 or 3 hours to make. So, but that's only 3 minutes. The extrapolation is that to do what I want to do could take a couple of days. You're sort of thinking, well, actually, when you start thinking like that, you're going to start thinking this is not just a hobby. This is something that I want to get some traction from. I'm not going to sit here on a channel I've got 2 videos on this channel that I've just made. It's something completely different. It's not really a major thing, but just something I'm toying with. But it's got no subscribers. I'm sort of thinking I've got 2 videos, each of which is 3 minutes. And I'm sort of thinking, how long would I go without any subscribers? It's got a couple of views. I think one's got 4 views and one's got 15 views because I did it a week ago. And it's sort of like, it's quite an eye-opener, really. So I just thought I'd mention that is sort of in reflection, really, because I sort of thought, what's the point of anything, in the light of, well, I've got 169 subs in 5 years. That's nothing in comparison to 0. It's more, but you sort of got to think, well, what is the point of any of this? As I said, I sort of validated and done all this stuff, so I don't want to sort of, because I feel a natural thing is to be quite defensive about things and sort of, yeah, but this and that, so it's okay for me. But I just sort of think in general context, that has been a bit of an eye-opener, and a bit of an eye-opener on what I'm doing with my channel, and an eye-opener on its ease, its simplicity, and the benefits, etc., etc. So I'm fairly content with that. Just as another point, as I was sort of considering all of these things, there's always the not so much the possibility, but the inevitability at some point that YouTube just simply won't exist. So unless people who have hundreds and thousands of videos, because some of these people do, and I haven't really been backing my videos up because I don't care. I've always been of the mind, if YouTube went down, then I wouldn't replace the videos. I just make new ones. There's nothing here that's sort of, it's not as though I've made Star Wars 7 and I really need to sort of maintain that as an asset to produce elsewhere. But I'm aware that there's a lot of people out there with, especially gaming channels, they spend huge amounts of time. And at some point, YouTube, it's inevitable that YouTube, as a sort of a medium will become irrelevant, and the products on it, like floppy disks, will be untransferable to the future world, whatever sort of format that's in. So I don't know really. I didn't really intend to have a sort of a blurby talk, so I'm going to leave it at that. But you know, I think this is certainly an interesting strategic setup and a position at the end of the play. Interesting to see how that would. Well, what I was meaning to say was, if you're interested in that, you can sign up and play and find out for yourself, etc., etc. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.